vrea acum să o invităm alături de noi pe prima invitată, pe doamna Oana Dima, de la Universitatea din Ghent, care vine să ne spună niște lucruri noi, interesante, despre ceea ce credem că ar putea fi una din soluțiile pentru toate aceste restricții din agricultură, și anume noile tehnici genomice. Oana?
Se aude? Da. Bună ziua! Mulțumesc foarte mult pentru introducerea și mă bucur foarte mult că pot să fiu aici și mulțumesc pentru invitație. Eu, de fapt, sunt a doua oară în România în viața mea adultă și am vorbit limba română numai cu tatăl meu, așa că mă simt mult mai bine dacă pot să vorbesc limba engleză în prezentația aceasta, unde folosesc limba engleză zi de zi.
Exact. Și o să-i rog pe cei care nu înțeleg limba engleză să ia căști de la colegii noștri, pentru că doamna Dima va vorbi în limba engleză, deși prezentarea este în limba română, da? Ok.
So from my side, it's very important that actually I'm coming from the scientific field, so that the scientists communicate their knowledge, the latest scientific advancements towards the farmers, towards the consumers, towards the policymakers and the politicians, because I think that's why, it is very important together to build this common ground for the agriculture in Europe. So if we think about the crop productivity depends on many different factors, and you know it all very well because majority of you, as far as I understood here, are farmers. So there are many different factors to take into account, which is the water management, irrigation, the fertilizers, the crop protection, the soil management, and so forth. And one of them, this is also the improved plant varieties. So we have to keep in mind that this is all these factors that the farmers have to work with. And actually, also thanks to farmers, the productivity has increased. And the increase in productivity is in 50% because of those improved plant varieties that farmers have been working on. So actually, how do we come to these improved plant varieties? It's because the innovation, and one of these innovations is in the line of plant breeding techniques. So you can see on this timeline that it started before Christ, that people started to cultivate different crops, such as maize, rice, and so forth. And only in the 19th century, with the development, with the discovery of the Mendel's law of genetics, people started to understand actually how plant breeding is dependent actually from the genetics. And in this innovation and advancements, we came to mutation breeding, crossbreeding, GMOs, and so forth. And now the latest innovation is actually the precision breeding called CRISPR-Cas, or the new genomic techniques, NGTs. So what this genome editing can bring to the farmers? Well, first of all, this technique is very specific. So it doesn't rely on the randomly introduced variability. It's very precise. So we have the very high level on the control over the changes introduced into the genome. And it's also very efficient, can be also multiplex if we want to. Currently, we have these two products on the market, and this is high oleic soybean in the US, and the GABA-enriched tomato in Japan. And they both have health benefits. One of them, with the high oleic soybean, it has the more stable frying oil, and then the GABA tomato can help reduce the blood pressure. However, the European Commission currently states that all genome-edited crops, they undergo the GMO legislation, meaning that it's very difficult to grow this kind of crops in Europe. So scientists, and together with Professor Dirkinze, who is the science director of the Plant Systems Biology Department in the VIB, Flemish Institute of Biotechnology in Ghent, they stated that actually the current GMO framework is very much outdated, and it's not fit for purpose. And actually later on the Commission also came to this conclusion. And our policy aim is that there should be a differentiated regulatory approach for the genome-edited crops that could have been obtained through, the same changes could have been obtained through conventional breeding, or that could have occurred naturally. So these plants should be treated differently than the GMO plants. And in this context, we created the EU SAGE network, so the European Sustainable Agriculture through Genome Editing. And we have, actually this is already a little bit outdated, we have now almost 150 different members all over Europe. These are universities, different European universities, plant research associations, and so forth. And we provide information on genome editing and represent the voice of the European scientists and promote the science-based decision-making in the context of the governmental decisions. So I talked about these two varieties that are on the market, but there are many more that are actually described by the scientists. And scientists are working very hard on these genome-edited crops. And we have now this number of genome editing applications in crops described in literature. And more information you can find in the database that we created. So basically here you can see what you can expect from genome editing in the agriculture. So based on science, we have now 668 results of different genome-edited crops. For the ones who are more interested, the model crops have not been included in this count. So these are only the crops which you can actually grow. Here you have also in this database, it's interactive, and you can look in different traits that you can obtain on different genome editing technique that has been used to obtain such a crop, where it has been developed, and so forth. So coming as the outcome of this study, you can see that the vast majority is rice. So in rice, well, of course, China is the leader as it comes for the number of the universities also. So rice, but followed by tomato, maize, soybean, wheat, canola, potato, barley. And actually there are 65 different crop species that have been described that we have those genome editing examples. And based on the trait categories, these are the ones that you can see in the table, and I think it's important to mention that this is the traits are improved food quality, the plant yield and growth, or the biotic stress tolerance, and they are followed by the others. But I think these traits clearly show that these traits are valuable for the farmers and for the consumers. And here I took some of the examples that are that are present in the database. And you can see, for example, grape wines. So we all like to drink wine, well, the majority of us. So we know also that grapes are attacked actually by the fungus, and a lot of chemicals and fungicides are used to spray on grape wines to obtain the wine. Therefore, scientists are working on the grape wines with increased resistance to such fungus. And so the same for the wheat, or for example, on the wheat, which is drought resistant, so it can be grown in dry conditions. Or, for example, rice that can be grown in the increased salinity, in the salt stress. Oilseed rape, tomato, which has more fruits and bigger fruits. So, as I said, there are 65 different crops that we could find, that there are those examples of genome-edited crops. These traits are important for the farmers and consumers. What I would also like to mention, these changes have been obtained via the small genetic changes. And we think that these applications are important and they can contribute to the European Green Deal and the Farm to Fork strategy goals. Now, I know that there are two of these spaces divided, and one is more technical, one is on the policy level, but I work on both, so I would like to just let you know a little bit how the policy is developing on the genome editing topic in the European Union, in the European Commission. So scientists, together with other actually stakeholders, as I mentioned before, we aim for this differentiated regulatory framework. So to differentiate the GMO crops and genome-edited crops. And actually this year, in June, we expect that the European Commission will present the legislative proposal on this kind of genome-edited crops. And we really hope it will be more positive than it is now, and that also the Romanian politicians will be voting for this proposal. So to show you actually on the continent level, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit ill. So currently, there is no differentiated approach in the regulation of genome-edited crops in Europe. And you can see it's only actually Europe, South Africa, and New Zealand that doesn't have this differentiated approach, while the other continents have this approach. So we hope that with this legislative proposal published by the Commission in June this year, and that also Europe will come among the other countries that look for this differentiated approach. And actually, what UK did after Brexit is that they changed their regulatory proposal in such order that they can now distinguish between genome-edited crops and the GMOs. And you can see that actually, well, these two tomatoes, are they the same or not? Well, one of them has the increased vitamin D level, and this tomato has been obtained by genome editing. And guess what? Well, in UK, it's possible now to have field trials with such tomato and to obtain further results on that. While in the rest of the EU, it's not possible. So the UK took the approach of the other continents, while EU is still waiting for this regulatory proposal. So with this slide, I would like to thank you very much for your attention, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Oana. So I will address in Romanian, I guess. Yeah, I think it's better. O întrebare foarte importantă pentru noi este care crezi că ar fi cel mai mare beneficiu pentru fermierii europeni în a se implementa această nouă legislație în ceea ce privește tehnicile genomice? Care ar fi primul impact pentru ei, primul avantaj?
Well, I think it's about the competition with the other countries and other continents, that all the farmers should have the same tools available to reach their goals. I don't say that genome editing should be the solution for all of the problems, but I think that everyone, as much as farmers and as consumers, should have the freedom of choice to choose for the techniques that they want to use to obtain the crops with the traits that they are interested in.
And if at some point there will be a decision, cred că doamna traducător trebuie să vorbesc în română ca să ne organizăm bine. Dacă se ia această decizie politică, pentru că este o decizie politică și nu e normal de obicei ca o decizie politică să aibă un impact direct asupra cercetării, este cumva o anomalie, dar dacă politicienii europeni vor reuși să ajungă la un acord, primele beneficii și primul impact va fi în special în cercetare și faptul că mai mulți cercetători mai mici, vor avea acces la aceste tehnici pentru ca rezultatele să fie disponibile pentru mai mulți fermieri. Pentru că, spre deosebire de modificarea genetică clasică, e clar că avem șanse mai mari să intrăm în competiție cu mai multe resurse naturale pentru ca produse mai bune, adaptate nevoilor, fie ale consumatorului, fie ale agricultorului, să ajungă mai repede pe piață.
Well, I would agree in majority with what you said, but
eu vorbesc pentru fermieri și atunci, din perspectiva fermierilor, trebuie să avem exact o viziune legată de beneficii.
So in context of the of science, the science is it's possible to do all around the world and also in Europe. So there are many institutes that are working on genome editing in Europe. However, there is no the next step to the field trials is blocked. Yeah. So that's why a lot of companies, they move abroad outside of the EU to be able to check and test their products, and then Europe is importing them. So I think it's again about this competition to be able for farmers to grow the crops in their own country instead of importing some seeds.
Și în cazul în care nu vom avea aceste soluții, în mod cert vom ajunge acolo, pentru că nu vom mai fi competitivi la un moment dat și, clar, vom importa toate aceste... Deja importăm, dar vom importa și mai mult alte soluții. Deci ar trebui să gândim și politicienii noștri sau cei care iau decizii pentru noi să se gândească în sensul acesta. Care ar fi o ultimă întrebare? Mesajul pentru noi, ca organizații de fermieri, pentru că știm că și voi faceți acest lobby și un lobby profesionist în sensul prezentării argumentelor științifice, care ar fi mesajul pentru noi, pentru că această legislație europeană să meargă mai departe?
Well, I think now it is in the hands of the policymakers and the politicians, but I think the farmers have also their say in the whole debate, and I think of course if you agree with this context that all the tools should be available for everyone and everywhere, and there should be equality on the choice of these tools, then I think it's also very important to talk further to the politicians for voting of such for this regulatory proposal. And we are actually organizing now in Strasbourg a meeting in June when this policy proposal will be published. We will organize an exhibition and a meeting with all the members of the parliament in Strasbourg to talk and to listen also to their questions and to answer. Because I think no matter what political party or no matter what you grow as a farmer, or I think everybody has the same goals. So we all want to increase biodiversity. We all love nature. We all want more sustainable solutions for the agriculture. So I think there is a lot of common that we all want to obtain, and now is a matter how to do it.
Thank you. Mulțumim foarte mult, Oana.
Thank you very much.
Și sperăm ca aceste soluții să ajungă cât mai repede la fermierii noștri.